Show's yours.
Wow, thanks for having me and thanks for showing up. And a couple things. I don't want to try not. There's a lot of slides on here, and I'm glad there's a clock back there. I don't want it to be like your uncle's, slideshow of a trip to the beach. So I'll try to give anecdotes. And the thing I noticed about putting these slides together is it's not. I wouldn't say it's a comprehensive view of the Gunflint Trail as a whole of paintings. It's more a collection of a few selected spots along the Gunflint Trail that I sort of made contact with, and that's what these are. And so I mentioned in the little interview that I moved to Cook County in 2005, and I had not been up the Gunflint Trail until after the Ham Lake Fire, which was in 2007. So I had not been up the Gunflint Trail at all. So I had no idea what the end of the trail even looked like prior to it being burned to the ground. So it was kind of interesting, and I will just want to comment, so the first slide will be of the scenes from after the fire, and I want to try to be sensitive because I know there's an active fire going on close by that might be triggering for some people, and a lot of people's lives were changed and affected by all that came through up here. So I don't want it to be like me, look how beautiful it is here. But I'm asking myself, well, why did I come up to paint that after instead of beforehand? And part of it for me is I just like, what I like about painting is painting things that maybe will not be the same again. Like we recorded history that the views won't be the same again. When I drive up here this morning, none of these views are there anymore from the burn. This first painting is kind of near. I can't give you the description. It's near the guard station, and there was a little four-wheeler trail that went up there, and just this great view, all these bright colors. What I liked about it was the thing that struck me most about after the fire, and not being from Minneapolis and not having any experience with wilderness stuff, is how green everything came back, how fast it turned green. Like this is probably June or July, and it was so green already. So I love that contrast of that rich green against some of the dark, kind of that rusty burned color and all the burnt trees. I kind of liked all that coming back. So we can go to the next image. So I'm not very computer savvy, so it's going to be like click and open.
Is this all oil paint?
Yeah, these are all oil paintings. They're all pretty between 8x10 and 12x16, and there's some of them bigger. This is a little 6x8 painting. Another one just wandering around where the current helicopter landing spot is by the guard station, and just was struck by the backlit of that tree. Sometimes names can be hard, but there's a song by Coldplay, if you're familiar, called They Were All Yellow. I think that's the song. So that's why I titled this painting. So again, I just like the contrast of all the kind of the exposed rock and the different layers of colors. Feel free to go to the next one. Feel free to, if you have connections to any of these spaces or just have comments or questions, just blurt them out. I think this is one of the first painting that I did, sculpted by fire. I call it 11x14. Did I bring that one?
Yeah, that's here.
Oh, that's right. So there's a few paintings up here, so you can get your nose up this one later. Again, I just like that contrast and that shape of that piece of charred lumber there, wood, and maybe it could be a sculpture, right? Who knows? And again, I think this was the first one I did after going up there. And I think it was along Blankenberg Lane. Looking from the highway down. This is probably my favorite piece of all of them. It's like the perspective, and again, it gives you kind of a sense of that whole loss and recovery, I think. If you drive down there now, it's so amazing how different scenes are now. So that's like a 12x16. This one from that area, again, kind of by the guard station where everyone goes to pick berries, and kind of up on the hill there overlooking. It's interesting how like, you know how sometimes senses will trigger a memory, like you smell something and it'll trigger a memory. This visually stuff like that happens for me. This painting I remember, particularly because, and I forget the gentleman's name, but somebody had gotten lost out there and died like the next day or so. I'd just been there. Maybe it was the same day that I was there painting. So all these interesting like memories. It's like a visual sketchbook for me. Some of these paintings, it's just like a record. Like I'm not writing down my life, just a visual record of it. But I like the scene just for the kind of the atmosphere, the big air, and it feels like kind of like I like that openness for painting. And after the fire, there was a lot of that, and you could kind of see the understructure of everything. Okay, maybe the next one. Just another one, you know, kind of exploring like I love trying to figure out the little shapes along the edge of the burnt stuff, and getting that contrast of color. You can go to the next one. Another view that I really like, but have had, for some reason, for me, it's just hard composition of the paint. So this is that, you recognize the view coming down toward Gunflint Lake. There's that sweet white pine that grows up in front of everything, and then that huge distance. It's so, I just love that view, but I can never find the right composition to, do I cut off the top of the tree to make it feel like it's tall? Like do I leave it in there? Should it be square? Can I crop out the road and make it happen? I don't know, it's such a tough one. But I painted it a number of times, so I just keep going back there. This is sort of after the fire. This was a winter, so yeah, you know the next one, sorry. This is the Seagull River on top of where it drains into Sag in the wintertime. That was a lot of fun. It's kind of, I didn't do too many winter scenes after the burn, so there aren't too many of those, but this is one of them. And I think this was 11 by 14 and I eventually made it into a bigger piece. Busted, I call this one. This one I really like too. Just the idea of like, you know, broken seam. And then I just liked all the little pine cones that were still attached. And then again, the jarred tree, it's a little bit of distance. Yeah, these are hard to sell, but they're fun to paint. And hopefully that like someday down the line, I'll just be really interesting record and stuff. So you go next one. So this is interesting. On the way up, I was trying to find this rock. This is just past the guard station on your way up. And it's completely overgrown. If you didn't know it was there, you'd never see it. And this was a big 18 by 24 piece that I did. I just like the huge rock back there. I've always been attracted to the group of seven, if you're familiar with it, the Canadian painters, oil painters that painted the northern part of Lake Superior in that area. This would be kind of seen, sort of typical of what they might do, so I was kind of inspired by them to do that. So, yeah. So this is sort of the introduction to a particular place on the Gunflint Trail that I just sort of like latched onto and kind of kept exploring. This is a little, so when you come down the hill from the parking lot to Magnetic Rock and you're in that low area, so this is a little stretch just before you get to the guard station on the north side of the highway. And there's this little rock outcropping that cuts across the bottom, and then you can see the hill in the distance in the outline. And what caught my eye was that little rock structure, and then all the dead trees in front of it silhouetted against the background. And so I've just sort of gone back there multiple times and explored that one. I like this one just for the different levels of kind of green that are going on in there. We can go to the next one. So same place in winter time. Again, this is wildly still, I call this one. That day I painted, I think it might have been like December. It was early in winter, but it was so unbelievably quiet, just like super still. One of those days where you could hear like, I think there's a raven came by and you just hear the wings. Yeah, I just remember that vividly. This is unfortunately not a great color slide for color, but again, I like painting winter. My two, I guess, I would have to say the two things I'm great at painting are overcast days and winter. Like, those are my two, like, go-to. That's what think I'm kind of known for that, and that's why I feel like I'm good at painting. So there'll be a lot. There's more winter paintings to come. Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
Hi.
Do you use a knife a lot?
Mm-mm.
No? Oh,
No, just regular brushes.
okay.
There's my paint boxes here. This is usually what I carry around to see our help over here. So this is what I carry around. It's basically a suitcase, and it's got it folds open. It's got all my paints and brushes and stuff in there. I salvaged some old straps off my dad's Duluth pack and put on there. So these Duluth pack straps are at least 50 years old. And then I like to do little thumbnail paintings on the box. There's a little Confederate soldier there from, not Confederate, but the Revolutionary guy that ended up at,
That's a British.
yeah, British soldier up at, during Rendezvous. It's up there. So I like to do little side sketches while I'm painting, but if anybody's interested, I can fold this open later. But this is generally what I carry around to paint with. So again, just another day. I love painting clouds, like when the weather's going through. That one's more about kind of exploring the sky versus the earth. Go to the next one. This one I remember really trying to push the idea of like complementary colors. Like so, obviously purple and gold in this one. I struggle with color in terms of like expressive color. I think. The accurate colors I'm looking at, I'm pretty good at. So this one I tried to just try to push that purple violet shadow a little bit more against the yellow orange light of things. They turned out pretty good, but I haven't gone back to that version, that style of painting too much. Okay, you can go to the next one. Same area, I think it's maybe just looking across the highway, but again these big kind of stormy clouds rolling through. I'm just trying to get a sense of the huge, how big the sky is in there. And tiny landscape. Okay. This is springtime, again in the same place, and just really trying to explore the difference in colors and values. This one compositionally is a little challenge that might be, I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel, I like the painting itself, but it just feels a little bit like maybe there's too much sky or not enough sky, or maybe it could be longer. So a lot of these paintings, sometimes they're like, finished paintings, or they're records of this, of a place that maybe it's not going to become a finished painting. Or there's other examples later on that I'll show that become inspiration for other paintings. So, go ahead. This one I really like. This was 2 summers ago. Really smoky weather up here that summer. So I just tried to capture that sort of that hazy afternoon. I like that. I think I like that compositional style better than this more square one. It works out nice to that space. But for me, I just like the distance suggested by the color here versus how gray it is in the background. And then again, I love painting the silhouette of dead trees in front of all that stuff. And it's so, there's something, there's almost like doing calligraphy. You can just load up a big brush of paint and just try to just gently drip it on there. And it takes time to learn how to do that. But it's so satisfying when you can just feel the paint come off into a little suggestive of something, just a couple of little strokes. So, okay, next one. In the same area, not the same spot, a little further toward magnetic rock. But I just like the silhouette. Maybe not a super successful painting, but I just like, again, the silhouette against the bright, late day. Yes?
What makes a super successful painting?
Like all the color is right, the drawing is right. And sometimes it just has to feel good. Like you look at it and go, oh yeah, that's it. And this one I look at it like, there's close. There's an inkling like this might be a painting that I would maybe say like I could use for reference later on. It's not a great photograph either, so I might be just beating myself up prematurely like that. But sometimes things feel clunky Like that tree feels a little clunky to me. You know, it could be a little lighter or a little more solid. Okay, next slide. This one I would say is successful.
I like that.
What I really like, again, what I like about it is just all the indications of slash and old sticks and stuff in there, and things coming up in front of it. And then just sort of the broken light, that all getting contrast of the front part being hit by light in the background and shadow. Another night, this is sort of like the end of day one. Again, same thing I like. And again, kind of that broken spotlight coming through at the end of the day. This one I know I took a little bit of liberty on, like I sort of pushed the idea of it being end of day, maybe riching the color up a little bit. Sometimes I do that. I mean, my tendency is to try to paint what's in front of me, and that's almost to a fault. So now I try to do a little bit more about like, oh, what would make this even a little bit better painting beyond what's in front of me. And so that's one of these paintings. Okay. So the next little exploration place is Clearwater Lake, if you're familiar with Clearwater. I don't have a lot of paintings there, but it's one of my favorite lakes, and of course the Palisades there are amazing. This is, I think this is the studio painting. So I did a little on location painting, and then I'll sometimes take those little ones and make them into bigger studio paintings. So this is is that the studio version? Maybe that's the outdoor version. It looks a little loose, so that might be the outdoor version. Anyways, so obviously I love that Palisade. This is a painting that was inspired by that place, but not an actual light effect that I ever saw. So tried to put those, I love the idea of those clouds, pink clouds evening, and then light coming through. I think this time of day, I don't think the light even comes from that direction actually. Like I think it's actually, like it's from there, right? Because I think that's an east-west lake, right? So that's sort of like south light, like this is more. So completely made up light. I couldn't even tell, it's probably not even actual light effect during any time of the year. But if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And I just had a lot of fun painting it. This was an actual day. One of my favorite paintings. Again, grade A painting, right? Painted like from that South Shore road that goes through there. Mm-hmm. I love days like that, just kind of stormy and gritty, and yeah, one of my favorites.
If you come and paint Clearwater again, I always have really good beer.
Oh, okay. I will see you next weekend.
And that's my view.
Another made-up painting. That one's over on the counter there, so that color is a little blown out. But again, just sort of exploring the end of day light effects. I think that actually, if I were to go there at the end of the day, it's actually lit up like that, just fully from the front and side. So it'll all be getting hit by sunlight there. But yeah, I don't know, just exploring that idea of, yeah, so they can make it a little different. So another thing that I did was partner up with Nancy Seaton at Hungry Jack Outfitters and did a couple of classes into the Boundary Waters. And one of the places on the trail that I've kind of become enamored with is Rose Lake. And so this is this little series of paintings. So that's obviously, if you know Nancy, that's Nancy and me, and then a couple of the students. So you can go ahead to the next one. Another class, you can go to the next one. This wasn't part of the class, but this is just a scene from, we went in there, I think went in with Dave Seaton, another friend, and just that's a painting, my setup. It's not this easel, it's a little bit smaller one that I can pack in a backpack, so like we skied into this location. This is on the eastern Palisade, I guess, overlooking Rose Lake. So that's on the western Palisade, looking down on Rose Lake. I tried to indicate. There's a lot of paintings that I couldn't find in this show, but I love the view of, like, you can see like there's put in a little trail of somebody as they be skiing through there or path through there or something like that. Just a little indication of life outside. In a kind of a lifeless time of year, and B, just in this wild place. But again, I just love that perspective looking down. That's on the other back to the east side, looking down again. Yeah, you can go to that next one. That painting's actually on the floor over there. There's the start of that painting. So I have like a little cigar box that keeps all my gear in it, and then a little camera tripod that just folds up and it all fits into my backpack. That's kind of interesting one. It shows like the in progress of the painting. Normally when I start a painting, I'll do a drawing of the scene, and then I'll block, if it's a sunny day, I'll block in all the shadows, so it kind of holds that light effect in place, and then add all the color in. So there's a big block in, and then start whittling away at a little more details or things that are needed. Okay. So this was on one of the class trips onto Rose Lake, and we were painting at the bottom of the stairway portage, and a group of, on our way across the portage, we ran into a swan and 2 chicks. And this was, again, the painting inspired by that experience. So this wasn't the finished, I didn't do this painting on location. I had part of it started, like I had the blocking of that big rock at the bottom of this. If you've been to the other side of the portage, you know there's that big rock there. And so I added the swans later. If you go to the next slide. And then this is a larger studio piece, and that one's on the floor there, as an example of taking it out of the scene, making it a little bit bigger, and just doing a little bit more refinement. Go to the next one. So there's the student and the swans that come down with the portage, hop up the lake. And
They walk down?
yeah, they were trying to, the mother, I'm assuming it was the mother, trying to get her chicks to the top, and they couldn't get up the stairs. The stairs are too big to climb up. I think I've got a couple more. That's the waterfall on the portage from the top looking down at that last summer. It's a perspective.
That's really nice.
What's that? Thank you.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it's a perspective I don't often go after, but I just wanted to challenge myself that day. To be honest with you, my favorite part is this dead tree. Just kind of hanging down into that. I really just like that. Okay, go to the next one. So there's the actual scene of my setup. That's the easy one. I had that big Frenchies over that one. Okay, go ahead. So again, kind of connected to Rose Lake. This is my friend Amy and David Demmer, if you know the Demmers. But we were going to go to Rose Lake one fall, and we got to Duncan Lake, and it was so windy that you couldn't get across. So we just went back and hiked up, what's the trail? It's Caribou Rock. Yeah, we hiked to Caribou Rock to this overlook of Moss Lake, and we were just hanging out. They were playing cribbage. This one I did actually, I don't very often work from photographs, but this one I did from a photograph. Just because it was such a quaint scene, and I wanted to capture that. I don't know why I didn't paint it. Maybe I didn't bring my paints that day or something. We were just hanging out. So I do remember that day, like if you ever had a Gray Jay experience, like I was able to put like a piece of bread in my mouth and a Gray Jay would land on my bill and just like plug it out of my mouth. Okay. Daniel's Lake from where Camp Minojan is. I'll get into Camp Minojan a little bit later, but just kind of, it's one of these winters where it was really warm, so there's this layer of fog above everything. And just looking down, trying to make it, it's kind of one of the, oftentimes you get to a place and you think it's going to be great, and then it doesn't hit you as hard as you'd like it to, like, it doesn't hit your gut so much, so you have to kind of like, okay, I'm going to make a painting here anyways, that's my job, that's what I do. So that was one of these paintings where you just sort of, okay, well, I'll go after it, maybe try to create a little bit of magic. So, not a great slide, but this is the, maybe we're at the Minojan part anyways. Well, I'll explain what we're talking about. About 11 years ago, the Art Colony sponsored an event where we take artists up to the YMCA Camp Minojan on Bearskin Lake, and they have lodging that they do programming in the wintertime for groups. So we would just go up there for a week and paint in the wintertime. And usually it was like the last week in January, traditionally the coldest week. And there's some allusion to that in some of the later slides. But this next little, so that first one is that same building, that's their sauna building, from a different, just looking from a different direction. This painting, in my opinion, kind of pretty boring. If you go to the next slide, turn over. So I said, okay, well, if I just, maybe I can add sunlight to it. So this is a little study I did, taking the same scene and just, making it kind of morning light. Again, probably not an actual time of day, but just the light raking out there, little smoke coming out of the chimney. And then if you go to the next one, there's the finish. I did that into a larger scale and was able to put moose antlers on there. All the cliche stuff is a little shovel stacked in there. So just making the smoke, those footprints. So just fun to do, be creative, Okay. So Mouse Island is a little island on Bearskin Lake called Mouse Island that everyone loves to paint. I, for a long time, never paid any attention to it, but now the last recent years, I've been kind of coming back to it. It's just this tiny little island. I think it has some history to it. My friend and I were painting it this winter, and we joked like it would be might be a great one of those, remember those vacation posters like, visit Grand Marais, we were joking like, historic Mouse Island, 2 acres to roam. I mean, it's such a tiny little thing, but there's a view. That was from this past winter, just looking on the other side. Looking up, again, gray day, I love gray days, I love silhouette shapes against, so that's what I was trying to go after there. Okay, so different, same island, different year, different light effect, different format. So this is a made-up paint based on that location. So I thought, oh, it'd be kind of cool. Just go ahead one slide, if you would, please. Okay, so there's an order to this. So the Mouse Island, right? Okay, so I thought, well, it'd be really cool to have like maybe Mouse Island in the winter. I mean, it's obviously maybe moonlight with a load of somebody camping on there. So I just made it up. I indicated the moon off in the upper right corner, put a campfire in there, kind of get it lit up. Oh, it's pretty neat. And so to go back to the other side. And then this painting, I was experimenting with a little different shape to the island. And I wanted the campfire, and at some point during I was getting kind of frustrated with it, so at some point during the process, I just started slashing my paintbrush across it. Just kind of a little bit out of frustration, but maybe like, oh, it would be interesting if it was like a blizzard, a ground blizzard or something like that. And so then that's what it ended up as. I added the fire at the end with the kind of sparks going out. And while it's not based on To Build a Fire, who's the author?
Jack London.
Jack London. It's not based on that particular story. If you've read it, you know what this is alluding to, but I wish I had done the painting based from that story, but it is a painting before I actually read the story. So if you haven't read the story, it's about this guy who has to survive this big winter trip in Alaska, like sub-zero, like way. It's a beautiful story. I won't spoil anything for you. Okay, go ahead. So again, Minojan, one thing that I found for myself when you're painting like the same location over, like we've done 11 years, 12 years at Camp Minojan, and it's not changing. So you have to kind of force yourself to find different areas. So every time I go there, that's a challenge that I give myself. Okay, I'm gonna find something to paint that maybe I wouldn't normally be attracted to. And then this is their canoe boat building place that they used to leave unguarded, unprotected, and I think some like Jeannie Berkman and some other canoe makers convinced them that you need to enclose this, and so now during winter time it's all covered in tarpaulin. But so then I just thought, okay, this is interesting. I'll just make a series of paintings out of the canoes. So that was it's open on both ends, right? That was one end. This is the other end where the canoes just sort of stick out the front. Just like a different color every year, there's sort of a different pattern. There's different stuff on the shelves, on the floor. It's different amounts of snow going through there. I went in there one time and just turned the lamp on at night just to see what that would look like. This one I remember, again, another triggering. I did this painting. I was just feeling, I could feel a cold coming on. So I did that painting, and then like that was the year where everyone at Minojan, all the people just got the flu super bad. Everyone got so sick. So kind deleted on that. That will be my memory. This is also the boathouse. This, again, I wouldn't say this is naturally a painting that would appeal to the general aestheticness of art, but this one I love because they had an old chair in there, old oversized stuffed chair. That's just, I'm sure it had mice in it, but I just thought it was really cool. And the hose and the little shop vac in the background. So it wasn't really about anything particularly pretty. It was just about like the life that happens. I mean, I could just imagine somebody working in the boat shop during the summer, then plopping down the chair at the end of the day and having a can of beer at have something cool to drink, whatever, and dirt all over the place. Okay. Again, trying to find different things to paint. This is also known. They always have a dog team there. Then they do offers dog sled rides and stuff. So this is a retired sled dog. Blizzard was his name. So he would just sleep all day. So I did a little couple paintings of him. And then everyone carries their. So in order to get to the lake, it's on. You have to park at Minoja and you have to walk across the lake. People pull their gear in the sleds, and so these orange sleds get used. So I did a little study of the sled, just because it was sitting there. And afterwards, I titled the painting "Blizzard: The Sled Dog Dreams." You know, the sled dogs dream of sleds. So maybe that's what this dream. I don't know. You can see the little studies that the dogs had in there. This was last winter. We had tons of snow. Of course, everyone's raked, trying to get the snow off the roof of their buildings. This is the kind of the main kitchen area, lodge, where everything happens. So, yeah, just wanted to explore that idea of, again, life someplace. And a little bit different scene. For a long time, so this bunk style housing when you're there, and of course you're there and you're on the edge of the boundary line, so you're always thinking about outside, but like, okay, I want to capture a little bit of the inside life. So, this is the bunk bed with somebody's. I think that was my down vest hanging on there, and somebody's bunk bag stuck under there. That's what it looked like. It's, just kind of interesting to me. Just sort of capturing a little slide, a journal entry more than maybe a really popular painting. Again, another interior one. There's the drink station where they have the cups and stuff stacked up. I just thought it'd be fun to explore. Something different. A little series of this. So the next to a series is kind of a painting that's started off as a painting that kind of built into a little bit more of inspiration. Let's see, can you go back to the first one? So that's Minoja has a chapel. I don't know if this place is actually called Chapel Point. If there's some Minoja people here, do you know, Scott?
I think they do.
Anyways, that's what I titled the painting. But so back into this little chapel area, and so I did that painting 2 winters ago. And really, this is a really cool spot. So you go to the next one. And so this particular painting on the against the wall over there, so you get up close and look. But I thought, okay, well, I remember that painting from last year, so I'll just go to the other side and paint it in a different light. So I love this, again, I love the silhouette shape and the cast shadows. And what I tried to do is get a little extra color in the shadows, just to give it some variety. And then during that week, after I painted this, there was talk of having a campfire at the Chapel Point there at night. So I thought, that could be a really cool painting. And so that night, my friend Adam Swanson and I went out for a ski. It was the moon was out, but it was really cloudy, so it was a lot of broken light. We skied around, and we were coming back to it, and noticed this point, like, that would be really cool if they do the fire there. I'm gonna sit up here and paint. And for whatever reason, they ended up not doing the campfire, which I was super disappointed by. And so I just made this up at the end of the day, based on another painting that I did. So I just used the shapes from that painting, and then just created the light effect. It's kind of moonlit over a big campfire going underneath there. So that's one thing I like about painting that I do, is just being able to kind of create stuff. Take a scene that's already been, just create, whatever. Next slide. Okay, so the next little inspiration I've had. This is on East Bearskin Lake by Bearskin Lodge. And I don't know if anybody remembers or knew Eric Simula. He used to live up here, and he would do tours, dogside tours for the guests at the lodge. And he had this teepee set up as sort of a warming house. My friend David Demmer was helping him mush, so he was like, hey, you should come up sometime and just paint. So, okay. So I've got a whole series of, I think this was the first painting I did. This teepee, and he would have his dogs staked out on the lake there. Those big, 55-gallon blue and black drums. You can go to the next one. Another scene, a different angle. This time I tried to get a little action. I'm pretty sure I probably used a photograph to paint the dog set moving because I'm sure that wasn't moving.
So is that Eric Simula's?
Yeah, anything with a teepee in it is be Eric's setup, yeah. And then there'll be some other paintings there where I've used you'll see where I use the painting to just kind of create different scenes. Okay, so the first one was the outdoor version, this is the studio version. Oh, this was what it's like painting in winter. This is really extreme. Scott was there for it. I think it was 2 years ago where we had, and if you guys look here, you'll remember this, there was a week, not every winter it's like that, right? There was a week where the high temperature at Camp Menosia was -15. That was the high for the entire week. And so, like, well, we got to paint over here. So we'd go out, and that's sort of like the -15 look. But the big guy.
Vortex?
What's that?
Is that the vortex?
Gore-Tex? I don't know what.
Polar vortex.
Oh, polar vortex, yeah. Probably, it was polar something. But when I was first budding painter, like, painting that temperature was really like a badge, like, that was how you got your chops, right? You just went out and you're like, oh yeah, it's 80 below, I'm out there. 20 years later, like, I don't need to do that anymore. I've done it. And it's so hard to paint it. Like, you can paint at pretty cold temperature, oil paint doesn't really get too stiff. Like, you can mix a little oil with it and it keeps it moving. But when it gets to -15, it's just almost impossible. You can't add anything to it. Yeah, you're just beating a drum. And the paint just doesn't move, so I don't think I got any paintings out of that week, but it was still fun. Get a good picture like that. So. A little study that I did was working on something. This happens occasionally, the little row of colors on the bottom. It's not any sort of color test, it's just where the painting fell off the easel onto my palette. But I say this painting, I like this particular painting. I love the light in it. I love everything about it. I still have ideas for doing a bigger one. I just haven't done it yet, but it's in the basket somewhere someday. But that's what would be. And this is another. So this is a little teeny one based on that previous slide. Again, just kind of making up the light effect and maybe taking that image a little bit further. Just experimenting with what the light would be, breaking light, stuff like that. There was a little lantern on a post there, like indicating that sort of stuff. Okay. So again, a teepee from a different angle. This is actual on-the-spot painting. I just like the position of it and kind of give you a sense of where it's at. This one, so now this scene will lead into some more like not experimental, but more. So you can go to the next slide. So that was a little bit bigger study of it. Probably push the color a little bit in this one. Enhance the light effect a little bit. Okay, go to the next one. So then I take that scene, and this is a completely made up scene, like a moonlight. It's like, oh, what would it look like in the moonlight? Like, so I'm just sort of, and we've all been out on the ice in the woods, so you kind of get an idea of what it's like out there during the winter. And I mean, that light effect is probably a little bit strong for a moonlight scene, but again, it's a painting, so you work with it. And you probably don't see that much color, like particularly red and blue. You wouldn't probably be that strong. You can go to the next one. Again, another painting of that same place. Okay, go to the next one. This is back at Menojan, just painting. Occasionally I'll paint the painter painting. Just for scene for fun. Okay, go to the next one. That's Eric. He would oftentimes sit in his sled at lunchtime to eat lunch. So I did a little painting. He had this amazing wolf ruff on the hood of his hat, right? Or his coat, right? His big ruff. So that's what that is about. This one's actual scene, but I don't think there's smoke coming out of it. I just added that later. This is give a little bit of life. That one's kind of in the hopper for, as possible, a bigger one. I think these next series of paintings are just paintings that I've actually seen along different spots along the Gunflint Trail that are interesting. This one is sort of right just past Hedstrom's a little bit on your way up. It's just a nondescript little.
It's a root bear.
What is it?
A root bear.
Root bear?
Mhm.
Oh, I can see it now. But there's just this overturned tree. And again, this is like, some people might call this a painter's painting, like it's just gritty and kind of explorative. I never thought anybody would ever buy that. And then a cousin of mine was like, oh, we want to buy one of your paintings, so I directed them to the website. And they came back and said, yeah, I saw this painting on their website, I loved it. And then like a day later, my wife was looking by herself and she went to the same painting and they loved it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. You never know, like I just did those for myself. We drove past there today, and last few years there hasn't been any water and it's just dry. So, you know, I guess with painting it's so funny. You can do paintings that you think this is going to sell, you know, this is the money maker, and then you just sit on it for years and forever. And then you just do a painting where like, screw it, I'm just going to paint this for fun. And you're like, oh, I'll take it. So I think it's something that, you know, that goes into, you give off, you put into the painting. I think if you're more excited about it than versus if you're looking at it from a different perspective, like this is just something to put cash in the pot, you might think you paint it differently. Okay, go ahead. That's me painting. That's a really early painting. I skied into Seagull Lake where the Palisades are, and did a painting there. I didn't bring the painting with. There's that easel, different easel than this one, but the same setup. I've got a little sled that I pull with little poles like a bulk sled, and just skied into this spot. That was a lot of fun. I remember, I think I remember what this particular was. I brought my little camp stove and I just heated up Gatorade. Like hot Gatorade, which sounds disgusting. Maybe it would be now, but I just remember. And I didn't bring the painting, but I think the next slide. So this is that scene, only I just made it into a Northern Lights scene. So I have it back in the studio. I actually have it. It's the Palisades there, and this little block, but it's overcast. It's gray, overcast painting. So I like the scene. I just thought it'd be cool to do Northern Lights in there. Put some little tracks in the snow, give like a little bit of a moonlight look. I really enjoy it. As I get older as a painter, I enjoy doing that more and more, just making up scenes. That is a study for this painting that's right here. Another one, that was, so you remember the TV painting that had the dog sled in it? I really liked just the little dog sled part of it, so I just sort of focused in on that and made it more about the dog sledding without the TV in it. So again, I probably worked from a photograph on this one, for the dogs anyhow. Okay.
This is the video. Give me a second.
I threw a couple of video ones in there. I didn't know if they would work or not.
Let me see.
It's playing on the other screens. Let me see.
Oh.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll move on.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't really expect this to work.
Okay, come on.
Again, just another scene that was on Hungry Jack Lake. And through that, just to kind of give you an idea of what the setup looks like in there now. I remember this one, that particular painting, we were, if you went over to, well, even on Hungry Jack, but we went over, there's a little portage that goes into bear skin, and the ice was, it was December, so the ice was forming, and it makes it. I've never heard it so, like, it just went on, didn't stop, just kept going and going. It was so beautiful. Really cool hoarfrost on the trees. Okay. The boat shop at Gunflint Lodge. I think Scott was there when we painted that, maybe.
And that tree on the right
Yeah.
side, yeah, look at
Okay. This was one, I remember specifically doing this, is that little, again, kind of right before you get to guard station, there's that little, on the left, south side, there's that little wet area. Springtime. I was just, again, looking for things like, okay, I'm going to try to find something that I wouldn't normally, like I want to find a painting without actually being struck over the head by it. So this is there was a little waterfall that was early spring waterfall that was coming through there. So that was the scene. Again, kind of a tiny painting, like a little 7 by 12 or something like that. Okay. Oh, not a good slide, but you can kind of get the idea of it. I painted this during the bear grease. It was one of the, it wasn't the bear grease, it was maybe the male one. One of those dog sled races, but there's a big campfire trail center. And when I was painting, Odin Jorgensen came through. So Waiting for Odin was the title of the painting. That's his little headlamp.
That's awesome.
Not a great, but it's the photograph is not, it's a lot better if it was a little bit cleaner, but again, just the silhouettes of all the people and the campfire behind it, so. Okay. Oh, another kind of new spot. This one is right across. There's a little Forest Service road across from the Moose Viewing parking lot. Some friends of mine was up at Seaton's for something, and we were chatting, and it was blueberry season, and my friends were like, oh yeah, we went here and here, and look, found blueberries. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check it out. So I just was gonna go blueberry hunting and came across this scene, and that really struck me. I just love the whole, this slash in here, and just, I don't think this even got burnt by the fire, but it just, at some point something burned through or happened to it, or I don't know what it was. But again, I just love that whole jumble-y stuff and the sticks going through there. The pine tree, there's one more I did at that spot. That's the on location painting. There's another one that I did. Swamper Creek Flow, which I called it. So that's actually Swamper Lake Creek that goes through there. This one is another, not a great slide, but so remember that series where they had part of the Gunflint Trail where there was just that rock outcropping in the distance. So this is right on the other side of the road. There's a little beaver pond there. And for whatever reason, it just struck me as interesting. And the clouds were coming across really cool. I put a little beaver in there. And I remember I was set up right by the pond, and I had my phone out, and I thought, I wonder if it looked like he was swimming toward me. And then you could see where he had come right out of the water, right where the easel was. Like, great. I'm gonna put my camera on my easel pointed at that spot and just wait for him to come. Here he comes. I'm gonna get this really cool photograph. This beaver coming out of the water. It's getting closer and getting closer. A mosquito lands on my nose. I don't know what he's coming. All I do is go like this. One time. The beaver, like, I didn't even move. I just like tried to blow the mosquito off my nose. And he sensed that and he took off. So one of my, I don't have a lot of wilderness encounters. I had a hummingbird come up and did this beak, and then I had to paint one time, which I felt horrible about. But those were, and then the beavers from that. Those are like my only 2 big wildlife experiences when we were painting. Okay. Another version of that I painted without just, a little smaller version. Okay. This one is interesting. Again, like I remember how I said, like the paint times. So this was 2 summers ago, and that's, what's the creek? No, we just drove past it. Round Lake, comes out of Round
Cross
Lake.
Creek.
Oh.
Yeah, Cross River. Yeah. That's Cross River last summer. Absolutely 0 water coming out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like August or September. I think I painted that more just for the, again, it's maybe not a real great slide, but not maybe a real attractive photo, but I painted it, or painting scene, but I painted it just because it was a record of that particular day or time. Oh, another And the TV one, different type of day. Headstones, you know, I love to paint that a couple times. And again, it's just sort of industrial. Like this was early on when I first moved up here. So coming from Minneapolis, St. Paul, I love that kind of industrial kind of painting type. So that sort of caught my eye. Another one from Minojan, snowshoes laying around, big sled, a little slice of life, I guess. Yeah, another one from Minojan, just trying to find something different to paint. I like this painting, but unfortunately it reminds me of a propane tank. When it's actually like just snow on big trees. And every time I look at it, I think of Como oil. I'm like, Okay. That's from Clearwater. Another guy took me out fishing one day. He was sitting there eating his lunch. From the dairy, a really old painting with a, cow, obviously. I don't know sure what I kind of focused. I have a lot of paintings from like the Pink Cushion Overlook, which technically that's on the Gunflint Trail, but I thought more like this part of the trail was more important to share with you guys. So I have a ton of stuff from Pink Cushion Overlook too. You had a question?
I remember the title of your painting. It's called Mid Swish.
Mid Swish. Is that what I told it? Really? That's so fun. I'm glad you guys are here because I forget all that stuff. But I really enjoyed that painting. It was fun. I've never painted cows before. I felt really good that the cow looked like a cow. I think that might be that. Two more. Oh, that's me painting Mouse Island this winter. Room to grow. And then this was last when I did that waterfall from on top of Stairway Portage. A buddy of mine, we paddled up there together, and we put out when people lay the fish out after the fishing trip, get photographed. We put the paintings out. But I remember with that particular trip, it was just beautiful. Like we borrowed a canoe from Seaton's and we got out there. I think it was 30 degrees. This is like September. It was surprisingly cold. And then by mid-afternoon it was 70. So, that's an hour. Holy cow! I think that's it. Yeah, thanks for coming up. Paintings up here. If you're interested in painting, obviously these are available. So there might be some in there that are still available. So thanks to Chik-Wauk for having me, and David and Holly for coming out. Questions? Yes.
Are most of these on your website?
Yes. Some of the newer ones might not be, but a lot of these. I've got actually a whole section of hand-like fire paintings and stuff like that. So neilshermanart.com is the website. So. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Yes, sir.
It's been a lot of time between the last time I saw such a quantity of your paintings.
Yeah.
In a row, and it occurred to me that the way you handle trees, groupings of trees, and their trees, there's a real Andrew Wyeth quality to them.
Thank you.
And also the whole series of the teepee, that whole bank of trees behind there, just
It's astounding.
astounding.
Thank you. Thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The light on the bare branches and the way the light would graze the top of that formation, and then it would just gradate down into shadow, but still, just really amazing.
Neil, I'd like to hear something about your early training that made, that actually, let me finish this part. I want to know how that painting impressed you, the kind of thing you were doing then, and how that jumps to now or changes.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning. I wanted to mention that I should have given you a little background on myself up front, so I'll start with that. I grew up in Rochester, and we talked a little bit about painting in high school and stuff like that. I went to St. John's University, studied art there, but they didn't. I had one teacher there. Some of you might know him, Mike Lynch, who's a Minneapolis artist. well known for his industrial night scenes. So Duluth, he grew up on the Iron Range. So he was a teacher of mine there for 1 year. He was really influential, but didn't have any landscape painting type classes there. So after I graduated from St. John's in '92, I kind of just moved around doing different things, wasn't doing any painting, and found out about this teacher who was teaching at a school in Burnsville. His name was Joe Paquette, and he was doing landscape paintings. And got the brochure, just a little teeny thumbnail, black and white, one of his paintings. Like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I moved I was living up in Virginia, Minnesota at the time, moved to Minneapolis, and started taking classes with Joe. And he's not a school, this is himself. He had a studio, so there'd be like 10 or 15 people who'd come to his studio for a couple of evenings or a couple of days. And he taught an indoor class, or doing bigger studio pieces, and an outdoor class. And then, he added classes, like he did a figure class, and I really enjoyed the composition class. So that's kind of where I learned to paint. Remind me of your question again. I kind of, like, what was your bigger one, what you wanted to know, Margie?
Well, your compositions are so marvelous.
Yeah.
If there are obviously a long training on your part based on some kind of insight that was either given to you or
that's what Joe did.
Yeah, just marvelous compositions.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
Color. I mean, to see that what you do in the studio and what you do on site, and how you can mentally carry.
Yeah.
I feel like you must have the colors in your fingers and connected to your brain.
Yeah, sometimes that works that way, other times it's just not that way. Yeah. But I mean, what I got from Joe, I think, is the fundamentals to particularly painting landscape paintings out on location. So I carry that with me. And then the way I paint those has not changed a lot. From early days, when I was studying with Joe, I'd get to the point where people would come up, oh, it looks just like a painting bunch. It looks like a painting Joe would do. The instructor's methods sort of rub off onto your style. So when I got away from the classroom, then my painting sort of started becoming my own. But they still had some foundational elements to them, like doing the drawing and blocking the big shapes, and starting with big and whittling it down to specific. So.
Can I tell them about taking an oil painting class?
Sure.
Well, one thing I want to tell you about it is that he must have been what is the name of the class that you go on the Gunflint for painting? My husband says this for me, and I can't say it right after he says it. Anyway, you guys know. And he was teaching a class at the art colony, and there was a bunch of people my age in the class. And it was all we could do is to get to the class and put our stuff up. He came in snowshoes one night because there was something going on there, and he had to come down to Gunflint and to teach his class. I thought that was anybody that would put that much effort out to come. He could have just canceled and said, can't get there tonight, but he didn't. Now, during that class, and I was a very poor student, I will admit to that. But I wanted to be able to oil paint. I wanted to be able to use oil paint. And I started out in college with oil paint. I mean, I didn't use any other medium. I wasn't taught with any other medium except oil, but I hadn't done it for decades. So he had us to paint a styrofoam cup. Now, other people here may have done that. And when I finished it, and I was very pleased that I got some of the really bold color, or light, and he had us to set it up every night with the same light, the same location against anyway, and then when he came over, he said, now if you do about 15 more of them. And that's my punchline. I haven't done the second one beyond that.
Yeah, I think that's like anything you do, whether it's music or boat building or gardening or whatever. You have to do it over and over and over.
Well, you obviously have done it over and over and over.
I have a lot, yeah. 97 I started painting, so the math isn't that. Yeah, thank
Any
you.
more questions? What a fabulous presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, feel free to come up and poke at the camera.